What's going on, guys? It's Mopar Man 1978. Um, First of all, apologize for all the noise. We got a lot of wind coming through today, storms off and on, um, and it's raining pollen like there ain't no tomorrow, like usual about this time of year. Lots of so if I sound nasally or anything like that, I've already taken my allergies medicine and stuff like that. But anyway, today's another Slant 6 tech video. Stuff I've done on the Dart for little to no money at the house. So let's just jump right in and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Alright, so here's the Slant 6 exhaust manifold that I picked up a while back at that salvage yard that had the aluminum two-barrel intake. Here's the nicely done up, painted Slant 6 exhaust manifold I had on my Slant 6. Some upgrades. I could probably hear somebody in the comment section or somebody watching it, maybe not, complaining already, but if you look real close, here's that heat flap. So I guess it stays like that, and then once it heats up, it opens up. Anyway, don't need it. To me, it's a waste of space. If you let your vehicle sit there and idle during the cold months, day or night, you don't need that flap. Besides, it makes noise, and then sometimes it can seize up closed, like, or whatever, like that or whatever. So what I usually end up doing is I come right in here with a cutoff tool or a sawzall, and I cut that piece of junk off, and I cut this off and this section off in here. And there's, if you don't know, inside the manifold itself there is a I guess you could call it a lock hinge. It allows us to pivot, but if you were to cut all this out, it won't let the inner piece that would be still inside the manifold after you cut both sides off to come out. So it wouldn't necessarily cause an exhaust leak, but I usually knock all that out anyway. And then what I do is, like I did over on this one, let's turn the light on here, see if we can see it. Maybe not. I don't have a bright enough light, but you can see out here that I got a lock nut or lock washer and a grade 8 coarse thread bolt. What I did was I tapped the hole and put threads in it and red Loctite, and I took this bolt and I already measured it before I installed it, cut off the excess and tightened this down, torqued it, whatever, and so there's nothing in here sticking out, no interference with exhaust flow. I did that on both sides. Retapped and threaded this hole after the stud broke off that goes down through the intake and into the exhaust manifold. I use fast nail grade 8 bolts with the anti-rust coating on them. Works great if you ever have to take these back out. I had to drill these out, rethread them, and the same type of bolts. And then I also had this one over here. I drilled and threaded and plugged this little port off as well, made sure it wasn't interfering with the port, the exhaust flow. Yeah, there's no flow restriction through that exhaust manifold, and this from side to side is exactly 2 inches. This is I believe, let's see here, exactly 3.5. 3.5 from center of this hole to center of this hole. But anyway, the other thing I did too was, while I had the manifold out, Gasket matched all the ports to match the ports on the head. I cleaned up the ports on the head as well. That helped out quite a bit. Smooth out any of this rough casting in here all the way down about 2.5 inches. Cleaned all that up. Anyway, now we're on to, sorry guys, I'm working by myself, got no help, and I got all this junk in the way. Anyway, here we go. This is the aftermarket flange I put on the car quite a while back. I'm telling everybody about. It's a Walker universal exhaust manifold flange. It's probably at least probably 7/16, almost ½ inch thick. I got the part number for you, but anyway, and I think this is 2 1/4. I know the outer diameter's yeah, 2 1/4. This pipe itself, the thickness is probably 1/8 of an inch, give or take a hair or two. Much better than that real thin wall crap that they sell at the auto parts store. So if you do yourself a favor and you get this flange, make sure you have the exhaust shop put the good quality pipe on here. But anyway, this port, inner diameter port on the flange is let's see, it's 2 1/4, and then with the pipe slid up in there and welded from the back side. I would recommend probably welding the seam around in there too, but with the pipe installed, it goes back down to 2 inch, which is much larger and much better than the factory crap. The factory exhaust pipes are crap. They're restrictive. They retain a lot of heat. They burn out gaskets, and the factory flange is real thin, so it warps the flange. But anyway, run all that way back, and I got the specs here for you. Yeah, like I said, factory slant 6 manifold exit port, which is this 2 inch inner diameter. Exhaust manifold flange, bolt holes 3.5 center to center. The Walker exhaust pipe flange, part number 31934, and it's listed as 2 1/4 inner diameter, and then 3.5 center to center. But these bolt holes are bigger than the factory ones, so you can either drill out the holes for a bigger bolt for on the manifold, or find you some little spacer to go inside this bolt hole here to compensate, to take up the slack. Anyway, I also use grade 8 bolts on those with the anti-rust coating, and I use a what they call a lock top wash bolt, or not bolt, but lock top nut, or exhaust manifold nut. It's misshaped at the very top. You'll be able to see it. It's looks like O'Reilly's has them on the little whirligig down in the exhaust aisle on the different nuts and bolts and stuff, but they usually come 2 in a pack with the anti-rust coating, and they withstand the heat and everything, and they keep the bolts, once you tighten the bolts down, they keep the bolts tightened up and they don't warp or nothing. But anyway, and then the gasket that you need for this is by Walker, and it's part number 31386, and it matches both the port on the exhaust manifold and the port on this. I already checked, but anyway, what also you need to do too is Permatex copper gasket spray. Make sure you put a coating over this. and the wind's picking up again. And on this, and then but spray. Make sure you spray. Get a good coat on both sides of the copper or of the gasket itself, and then just make sure you do the torque specs. And the other thing too, for the people that want this high flow exhaust, but maybe you want a quiet sound, but they want extreme flow, I've already done the work for you. It's a by Walker. It's called Sound FX. It's a part number 18230. It's I think it's got an arrow stamped into the muffler pointing in each direction, so I think it's you can turn it around and it flows the same each direction. Anyway, it's about between 30 and 40 bucks online depending on where you buy it, but it's maximum flow, but it keeps the exhaust quiet. If you want maximum flow but you want that rumble and almost close to V8 sound without the Slant 6 sounding like a fart muffler or import or anything, go with what I'm using, a Flowtech afterburner muffler. Give me just a minute and I'll go get it out of the car. Alright guys, here it is. This too is also a reversible muffler, so it can flow in either direction, and it's built really tough, really thick metal. And they consider, just like a Flowmaster, this to be a chambered muffler, a two-chamber muffler, but it's actually got, like on the Flowmaster, it's got one divider, two divider, so basically there's 3 sections to the muffler. But unlike Flowmaster, this has the pipe that continues through the first, what do you call it, the first chamber into the second one. And then this one goes through the first chamber and into the second one. So basically it meets in the middle. And so it distributes the sound between all 3 chambers. And as you can see, well, maybe let's get out here in the sun here. As you can see, it's got them little louvers in there, kind of like a glass pack. I don't know if you can see that very well or not, but anyway, it's got it on both sides. This one's 2-inch. Entrance, exit, vice versa, because it's both the same on both sides. It can flow either direction, won't affect it. This is by Holly. It's a Flowtech afterburner muffler. Hold on a minute. Okay, the afterburner muffler with the center and offset is 50320 for that style of muffler. But then if you want offset with offset, it's 50352. But this one, the offset from this side and this side only comes in 2 1/4 or 2 1/2. They don't come in 2 inch for some reason. They only make them in certain sizes. But anyway, I run this particular one on my Slant 6, and it sounds great, especially at idle. It sits there and it's got a nice rumble and a little bit of throatiness to it while it's sitting there. And then you get on it, it's got the Slant 6 sound, but it's got almost mixed in with the V8 sound to it too, and it sounds really good. And the other thing I did too is, I know people are going to think this is weird or think it's cool or all the above, but let me just show you here real quick. And I mean, this is for all the newbies, because some of the people that's watched my channel since I've started already have seen this previous video, but on my deal. But anyway, you got the exhaust pipe that runs back to the muffler, and then what I did was, here is this oddball section right here. Let's see if we can get it out over here a little bit more where you can see it better. Basically what this does is the muffler, let's see here, the muffler comes to the back right in front of the rear end, and then that piece of oddball shaped pipe comes up, curves over the top of the rear, in the middle of the rear end, and once it gets to the middle of the rear end, it does a curve and comes down at an angle. When it comes down at an angle, it comes, yeah, fall over, bitch. Anyway, that piece of pipe comes down and goes directly into this middle of this pipe, and this is a one-piece pipe that was bent to, because what I wanted was, I want single exhaust on this, but I want the illusion of functioning dual exhaust. So what it does is it let's see here, when it exits, it goes directly in the middle of this tube and then expands out and goes in both even directions and goes out the pipe. So like during the cold months, when you've got that steam coming out your exhaust pipe, there's an even amount of steam coming out both sides. It just gives that visual effect of the car having actual dual exhaust when actually it only has a single exhaust on it. But it sounds really good at idle and taking off down the road. But sorry for all that mess. But like I said, Army of One out here on my channel. But if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. I'll do what I can to help you, especially on the Slant 6 stuff. Hope you enjoyed this video.